Hi everyone, Fabian Deacon aka Empress Justice here. I have resumed the daily readings. If you'd like to check out Real Justice Tarot on Instagram, if you'd like to check out my vocals, check out Fabian Deacon vocals. Speaking of which, they're actually improving, thank God for that. Now, I've got to get into the whole Ukraine situation again. I've been talking about how the Polish government haven't been letting any black people in. A lot of people have been talking about that. And at first, the blame was placed on African governments and Caribbean governments not preparing for this situation, not preparing to get them out. But that's actually, as it turns out, that's actually not the case. A month before the invasion of the Ukraine took place, Jamaican students who were in the Ukraine, which aren't very many, they were actually warned to make preparations to get out of the country as soon as and when, if should anything go wrong. So the Jamaican government were preparing them. The Nigerian government have been helping out too. What I've been hearing is that the Nigerian government were actually preparing their people to cross the border, but that it was the Polish people who deliberately wouldn't let them through. That's what I've been hearing. So the Nigerian government didn't abandon anybody. The Jamaican government didn't abandon anybody. The South African government definitely didn't abandon everybody, because they put out an alert for South Africans to actually contact their embassy or contact them so that they could cross the border from the Ukraine. So this whole narrative that like African and Caribbean governments have been abandoning their own people, it was not true. It was not true. That wasn't true at all. It was disinformation that was put out there because of how stressful the situation is and how complex the situation is. When you're going through something like a potential World War III, I don't even think it's potential. I think it's happening. When you're going through something like this, the temptation is going to be to simplify the situation, because it's literally like your brain can't process it in any other way at this point. But war is a complex thing. When it comes to foreign governments preparing for the Russian invasion of the Ukraine, when it comes to that, apparently Putin had been threatening for years to come over there and invade the country, but the Ukrainian government apparently never took it seriously because Putin always threatened it and never came over. Here's the thing now. The average person is not going to understand that invasions can take months or even years to prepare for, because war is expensive. You have to prepare for strategy. You have to prepare for potential sanctions. You have to prepare for the impact that would make on your country. You have to have reserves in place. Like, all of this is really expensive, and all of this is really time consuming to prepare an invasion, and especially one with a country as important as the Ukraine in terms of imports and exports. Like, you really have to plan and prepare for what's going to happen to the country just in case the rest of the world decides to sanction you. So you've got to make preparations for all of that. But the layman doesn't know that. The layman doesn't know that. And this is the thing that nobody tells you about politics, right? Politicians have to act on how the masses respond to things. I'm going to say that again. Politics have to respond to how the masses respond to things. So everything that politicians do is dependent upon what we say, what we think, and what we do, which is why there is always so much manipulation when it comes to how the way that we think. That's why the manipulations are put in place, because when it comes to politics, everything that is being done is based on our reaction to what's going on, or what we cry out for, or what we prepare for. So, of course, the layman isn't going to understand. The lay Ukrainian isn't going to understand that strategies could take fucking months or years in order to like properly plan and prepare for. Like, the Ukrainian layman ain't going to know that, and why should they? The Ukrainian layman ain't going to know that. The Jamaican layman ain't going to know that. The Nigerian layman ain't going to know that. The South African layman ain't going to know that. And quite frankly, why should they even have to know that? So because they don't know, how long invasions actually take to prepare for, of course they were going to be unprepared for what was going on in this situation here. Because again, the politicians, they have to work around our reactions to things. Yes, they have safeguards in place. Yes, they have plans in place just in case, but they have to respond to what we, the public, respond to. So it's a lot more complicated than just saying, oh, black people were abandoned by their own governments, or it's a lot more complex than that. Like, it's a lot more complex than that, but because everybody's scared, I know I'm fucking scared. I'm terrified. I'm fucking terrified over here. Nuclear war. I don't fuck with Putin like that. He's one of those people where if he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. So everybody's scared. So what ends up happening is this information gets shared around. I know I shared it around. This information gets shared around. People get scared. People get terrified. People want a simple answer to a solution so that this whole fucking mess can end as quickly as possible. But unfortunately, when we try to simplify the situation, we forget the human element and the human cost of everything. The human cost of disinformation, the human cost of panic, the human cost of divide and rule and all this stuff. Like, okay, we know that Ukraine and Poland and countries in the Eastern Bloc have a problem with black people. I remember talking to somebody back in school who comes from the Czech Republic. They said that, in their country, they believe black people don't have hearts or souls. So all of this is true. But the thing is, to simplify it, I can't believe I'm about to say the words make it a race issue, because it is a race issue. It's always going to be a race issue. But to simplify it down to black people not being let in, even if it is true, even if it's all true, it simplifies an incredibly complex situation in which only a handful of people are really prepared for the fallout that could come from something like this. The layman is not prepared, and the politics respond to what we're prepared for. So even if the politicians really know what's going on behind the scenes, they're working in accordance to what will be comfortable for us. That is the point of politics in the first place. In fact, that's the point of law in the first place. So they can only respond to what we know. We're kept in the dark for a reason, yes, but they can only respond to what we know. And this whole thing of boiling it down and simplifying it to its essence, that's our way of being able to cope with a situation that's getting increasingly messy and increasingly scary. So whilst I would like to apologize to the Nigerian government, I'd like to apologize to the Jamaican government, I'd like to apologize to the South African government and any other governments with black people down there, if I have ever spread around that misinformation that you weren't looking after your own people, I do apologize. I know that I'm only just an ordinary woman in the UK, who has no, barely any ties to any of them apart from Jamaica. I know, but I don't want to contribute to a culture that makes people not think. Because right now, as dangerous a situation as this is, we need people to think carefully about the next steps to make, take it one day at a time. We need to be in a position where we are thinking clearly about the situation. And if I'm playing a part in spreading around this information based on my own emotions, it's not going to help the situation. I come on here to vent. I come on here to speak my mind and to get people informed about what's really going on in the world, because there's a lot that people don't know. But if I'm spreading around this information like that, it could make a bad problem worse. So I don't want to contribute to that. And I apologize for contributing to that. And I'm praying that no matter what race you are, no matter what color or class of people that you belong to, I want to let everybody know right now, right off the bat, I am praying for you. to get out of the Ukraine safely. I'm praying for you to get out of the Ukraine safely. I don't care what race you are. I don't care whatever's going on with you. I'm praying that you get out of there safely as this war rages on. Whoever needs to get out, get out. Be safe, be well, keep your children close. This is not going to be an easy thing to go through. And I know so many of you are probably tired and hungry and thirsty and scared. But I pray that all of you can make it out. All of you. I don't care what race you are. All of you. Yeah. So, but yeah, again, if I've contributed to any disinformation, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get people informed on what's really going on. When it comes to yesterday's video, I explained that Putin had his nuclear deterrence on high alert, which means anytime any other nations want the smoke, he's ready to use the nuclear weapons. Again, if nuclear weapons are brought into this, we are all screwed. And I think Putin warned us years ago that the United Nations or that the governments wanted a world war. They wanted a world war. They wanted to depopulate, which tracks because there have been depopulation efforts, through other means. And now the goalposts have shifted. Now we've gone from a pandemic to World War fucking 3, because again, the whole purpose is to depopulate, right? The whole purpose is to reset. So this has been in the works for decades. Like, a lot of people are blaming Putin. But again, this situation is complex. And the thing is, people can't process that much information, which is why they like to simplify shit. But the truth of the matter is that Putin is not the boogeyman here. I'm a targeted individual. I've literally been subject to defense systems weaponry experimentation unlawfully. And I'm not the only one in the country. I'm not even the only one on the entire planet. And speaking of Poland, they're supposed to form the largest population of targeted individuals on the planet. Even though I don't know how true that is. I'm keeping an open eye out. But nah. Apparently Poland are basically the largest population for unlawful experimentees of directed energy weaponry and acoustic weaponry. So for me, it's just like, that's what I'm saying. This whole situation is messy. Like, maybe in Western countries, the population that are being attacked are most of black people and black women and single black women, but apparently the biggest concentration of TIs on the planet are white people. So that's what I'm saying about simplifying things. This whole situation is just really, really complicated. And to try to simplify it and boil it down to its essence, it's not going to work. Not if you want to know what the truth is. And the truth of the matter is, this depopulation effort has been decades in the making, if not centuries in the making. Once again, we're going back to secret alchemical fraternities who have been aware, not even been aware, but have basically planned and tailored population control around very, very ancient methods of population control. It goes back to the Bible, or can even go back before the Bible. Population control has been a thing for thousands of years now. And it's simply a perfected, what we're witnessing is just a perfected example of that. There is a reset happening. And this experimentation into directed energy weaponry and acoustic weaponry, they form a part of that. Using behavioral control through these weapons is a part of that. We already have people with Havana syndrome in the US, and we already have Russia, that being blamed on Russia, when Russia is like, no, people who have been attacked, we know the truth. We're being attacked by our own governments, being prevented from traveling. Connect the dots. We're being attacked by our own governments. when it comes to unlawful experimentation. We're being attacked by our own governments. We're being prevented from travel. Connect the dots now. This has been in place for years. This has been in place for years now. Decades, centuries. Population control has always been a thing. It's just that the technology has changed. That's it. Look back through history. History don't lie, man. This has been going on for the longest time. These weapons are being experimented on. And if you think it's a conspiracy theory, let me ask you something, right? If you are a defense systems, if you make defense weaponry, right? And you make defense weaponry specifically for targeting biological, specifically for targeting personnel or technology, and you needed living subjects to test an experiment on, how many people do you think would willingly say, yeah, go ahead and test directed energy weaponry and fucking acoustic weaponry on me? How many people do you think would be lining up around the block wanting to be fucking tested with these weapons? It's all right, I'll wait. Knowing what these directed energy weapons are capable of, like dehydrating the body, causing bone loss, causing cancer, causing strokes, causing heart attacks, completely dehydrating the body and aging the body like about 15 years. How many people realistically do you think would be lining up around the block for these multi-billion-dollar companies to turn around and say, hey, we want to experiment into electronic weaponry. Would you help us do that? The only way I can see anybody volunteering for that shit is if they wanted to fire the weapons. That's the only way I could ever see anybody volunteering for that shit. Nobody in their right mind would want to say, hey, go ahead and fire weapons on me. That's the reason why there are so many unlawful experimentees into this technology. And that's the reason why it's kept secret. Because nobody would volunteer for that shit. Not willingly. There are very few examples where people have experimented or like had munitions experimented on them willingly. It does not happen. And yet, people that, they still need to know that the weapons work. They still need to know that the weapons work and that they can be successful. So they find a way around it. Put people on a list, have those people on the list targeted under the guise of community policing. Cause as much stress to them as possible in order to get an electronic read on them. And then from there, once they've got an electronic read, detect where the person is and torture them remotely. But all of this is a part of military strategy and munitions. The directed energy weaponry and acoustic weaponry, it's not just behavioral control, that's a part of it. It's not just depopulation, that's a part of it. It's also about military strategy and munitions. Now, Putin's got nuclear weapons, but he also has directed energy weaponry and acoustic weaponry. There are also psychotropic weapons that can affect a person's behavior by emitting a certain frequency. All any of these governments need to do is to turn these weapons up at a specific level, depending on the effect that they're going for. They could affect somebody's health. They could affect somebody's mental stability. They can affect literally everything, right? So, bringing nuclear weapons into it, in order for it to be effective, somebody would have to have the mind to do it, and that takes behavioral control. And that, and that's where the acoustic weaponry comes in. That's where that's where the defense weaponry comes in. That's where directed energy weaponry comes in. Do you understand what I'm saying? affecting people's behavior and affecting people's health. It plays a part in destabilizing society. But the trick is, and this is the trick that politicians use, this is the trick that the media uses, not only do they respond to what we respond to, but they also subconsciously and subliminally elicit certain reactions in the public. Once again, this, you know, human beings, we're not as dumb as we think we are, but we're not as smart as we think we are either. There is only a certain amount of information that we can process before we try to simplify everything in order to make sense of it. And this is how we end up being manipulated into, this is how we can end up being manipulated into either, you know, engaging in violent acts or you know, being part of a war effort, or, you know, or conversely, disobeying civilly. Like, our behaviors can be completely manipulated simply through these weapons attacking our hormones, or attacking our sacral, you know, our sacral points in the body, attacking our hormones, and using specific frequency in order to influence our mood. Now, it doesn't necessarily influence our actions yet, but it influences our mood. So all of this, taking all of this into account, I'm not sure I'm making sense here, but taking all of this into account, we have to think about what the next logical step is for this outcome. The reason why I'm bringing up all this targeted individual stuff, and the reason why I'm bringing all this up, is because it will influence how the war turns out. Now, again, Putin has been saying for years that the US or NATO wanted a global war. He's been saying that for years, okay? And now he's being painted as the big bad wolf because he was the one who tried to warn everybody. That's usually how it turns out. But really think about this. You've got defense systems worth billions of pounds or billions of dollars, right? They've been experimenting into highly sophisticated technology, highly sophisticated means of torture, behavioral control, and depopulation. The rest of the public are in danger of knowing exactly what's been going on, which could be catastrophic for these defense systems. It could be catastrophic for the defense systems. It could be catastrophic for politicians. It could be catastrophic for whole neighborhoods, whole families. Imagine if the people who had been betraying me or who had been stalking me, imagine if the whole truth came to light about what they'd been doing to me, because there have been a lot of people involved in this. Imagine if the whole truth came out about what they did to me and the scope of how many people knew what was going on. Imagine what came out. This is just me. This is just one person. Imagine the sheer scope of the amount of revelations that would come out. Let's just say tomorrow, everybody that was involved in gang stalking me were to come out and say, yeah, we've been doing this to her. You know, some people on the slide, some people in secret have been saying, let's do this to Fabienne, let's cause her to go crazy, you know, get sectioned or whatever. Imagine if all of them came out and said, yeah, this has been happening. How many witnesses are there? How many perpetrators are there to each targeted individual like myself? How many witnesses are there to each perpetrator? Do you understand? Because the thing is, in order to slander the target or demonize the target or isolate the target, there have to be other people involved who are not perps. So you've got the perps who can say, listen, this has been happening. For each TI, how many perps are there? And then you've got people who are next to the perps who the perps are slandering you to. So the people next to the perp are witnesses to what's going on. Now, that's just one person. That's just me. That's just Fabienne Deacon. Imagine the scope of that for all TIs throughout the world. No. No. They can't allow it. They can't allow that. So I'm thinking that nuclear war is definitely going to happen. If it's not going to happen now, it's going to happen in the future. It's something that we're going to need to prepare for, because there's no way in hell that this much scandal about the trafficking of our government's own citizens, like the trafficking of our government's own citizens, there is no way in hell that many people are going to be witness to what's going on and are going to be involved in what's going on, and there's not going to be a contingency plan. There's no fucking way in hell. There's no way in hell. Because the key to behavioral control and social control and everything that's been happening, TIs are the key to that. But there are too many perps to each TI, and there are too many witnesses to each perp. So what are you going to do? You got to wipe them out. You got to wipe everyone out before they find out what's really going on. You got to wipe everyone out. That is exactly what this government will do. That's exactly what our governments will do. They're going to wipe everybody the fuck out before anybody really understands the truth about what's going on. That's the purpose of all this. That's the purpose of all this. That is the purpose of this war. That is the purpose of World War III. Not only is it a population reset, it's a population reset before human beings get wise and turn on our leaders. And I know people are going to be tempted to say, oh, she's crazy. Yeah, I get it. I get it. Ordinarily, I'd be offended. But if people wanted to call me crazy for believing all this, listen, you're scared. You're scared. I'm fucking scared. You want to call me crazy for saying all of this shit? I don't even blame you. This is some scary fucking shit. This is some scary fucking shit. This is about to get very, very real. If Putin doesn't fire those nukes, somebody else is going to, because somebody else is going to have something to prove. And when that happens, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Those nukes are going to be fired. I suggest everyone prepares. That's what I'm going to do. Prepare. And I know what I'm saying is a lot. And it's complex. And it, you know, when it sounds jumbled and shit. But this is not going to end well. This is not going to end well. You got Ukraine, which is one of the most important coastlines. They have one of the most important coastlines in the world for import and export. They've got natural resources, including the manganese that they've been using as so-called chemtrails. This is not going to end well. This is not going to end well. This is not going to end well. A lot of people are going to die. A lot of people already have died, and I know it's scary to think about. But it is going to happen. We need to prepare. Make an automatic preparation for what's about to happen, but then, when you've done that, enjoy your life as much as you can while you can. Anyway, I'll leave links in the description for my readings. I'm going to do a reading today for March 2022, for all the good that will do. So, yeah, I love you guys. Take care. What else am I going to say? I want to tell you to have hope, but I don't think it would be realistic in this case. But yeah, my readings are there, my vocals are there, so have a look when you have a chance. Okay?